السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد. Less than 27 days before Ramadan, inshallah. We're here. We're right at the doorstep of Ramadan. Allah accept all of our ibadat of Sha'ban and let us reach Ramadan, Ya Allah, upon all of the favors that you've given us. We have to meet Ramadan, Ya Allah. Sha'ban, don't undermine for 1 second this month. It's actually the secret weapon of what builds your Ramadan. So was Rajab. But Sha'ban is such a month. Where can we start about what happened in Sha'ban? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a similar way, how He ordained wudu for us. The khushu' in the salah doesn't begin as soon as takbir al-tahrima. The khushu' for the salah begins with wudu. So if you're in that zone that you're supposed to be in your wudu, your salah will be a much better salah, inshallah. In a similar way, your Sha'ban, consider it the wudu of Ramadan. If your Sha'ban is healthy and it's not too late, Shaitan's going to come into waswas to you and say, you had 10 months, what are you going to do now? And then what starts happening? The next thing happens. Shaitan does another waswas to you. Oh my God, I'm not ready for Ramadan. What am I supposed to do? I didn't do anything. Preparation for Ramadan, we're going to leave for another khutbah, inshallah, or another talk on our Saturday night talks, inshallah. But something that's going to help us understand how important Sha'ban is, just to give us a little push, may seem unrelated of this beautiful event that happened in Sha'ban. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is in Mecca. His surrounding is that him and the believers are a minority of people that believe something very different than everybody else. Actually, the complete opposite. Rasulullah is saying Allah is one. The mushrikeen al-Makkah are saying there's multiple. He's saying I'm the final messenger. The mushrikeen al-Makkah don't believe in messengers. The mushrikeen al-Makkah made his life and the believer's life so difficult that Muhammad ﷺ dispatched Mus'ab ibn Umayr to go to Medina as his ambassador. Mus'ab ibn Umayr comes back and reports back and says that the people of Medina are ready for your Islam and ready to make you the leader, Ya Rasulullah. Rasulullah ﷺ makes the migration. Remember, this is very important. The Muslims were considered a very, very small minority compared to everybody else in the world and in the Arabian Peninsula. Now Muhammad ﷺ is optimistic about Medina. He migrates to Medina. Everybody knows the stories and the incident. And when he gets to Medina, he's very optimistic. Why is he optimistic? Number one, he was invited by the people. Mecca was opposite. He was ran out by the people. Number one, optimism. Number two, he's around thousands of people that are from also an Abrahamic faith that are Jews. Why is this easier for him? For him, it's like we have so much in common. We all believe in one God. We all believe in Allah. We believe that He sent messengers. They believe in Ibrahim alayhi salam. They believe in... There's so much similarity. They believe in the angels. They believe in Jannah. They believe in Jannah. There's not as much work to do with them that what happened in the 13 years in Mecca. So Medina, even the fact that the Jews were there was a breath of fresh air for Muhammad ﷺ and the believers. We have to remember this. And put yourself in the shoes of the believers and Muhammad ﷺ to very much understand this. When Rasulullah ﷺ, Aisha radiallahu anha, she said something really beautiful. She said, when Muhammad ﷺ migrated to Medina, he actually began to get so friendly with the Jews. He started wanting them to feel so welcome that he started encouraging the believers to do things that are like them as long as it's not in their religion. Meaning cultural things, resemble them to a certain degree, bring them into Islam, not resemble them in the religious acts. So Rasulullah ﷺ even himself doesn't have to do this. He's the final messenger. Imagine what type of leader this is. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And number two, it shows his justice that the people that oppressed him, even some of them were Jews, he could have done the same thing when he was in Medina, but he didn't. As the leader of the Anbiya, as the leader of the believers in this dunya, and of all the prophets of the past, he wants to win over the hearts of the Jews. So what does he do? He starts resembling them, maybe in some types of clothing, maybe in some of their greetings, maybe as long as it wasn't, again, very clear, as long as it wasn't religiously related. Rasulullah ﷺ did this because he knew that they knew, and the Christians knew that he was a messenger. They knew it. They just need a little sweetness, a little love, a little care to bring them over to the fold of Islam. So Rasulullah did everything he could. Even to the point that the Jews knew for sure that he was a messenger. Imagine this historical fact which is very much understood. The Jews actually didn't reject Muhammad ﷺ because they hated him. Do we know what the original reason for the Jews not accepting Islam was in the prophethood of Muhammad ﷺ? The Christians knew that he was a messenger that was arrival. They were awaiting. And the Jews were actually awaiting this final messenger. So everybody knew he was actually a messenger. Why didn't they accept? And this is actually scary to say. Their disagreement is with Allah. They said, Ya Allah, messengers were all the time and all in history from Bani Israel. How can you choose Arabs, shepherds, other than us? We're not accepting your message. Now we understand the gravity of Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is repeatedly talking about Bani Israel. Muslims don't hate Jews. We just disagree with them. That's it. But their original hate is not actually historically with the Muslims themselves. Their disagreement is with Allah. How can you choose a messenger other than from Bani Israel? We're not accepting, no matter what happens. And Muhammad ﷺ obviously knew this. So he's trying to win them over. Abdullah ibn Salam, who was a rabbi from amongst the Jews, became Muslim. And there's a lengthy hadith in the chapter of the creation of Adam alayhi salam in Sahih al-Bukhari, which goes through his incident in his conversion. Beautiful story. So now, even though Muhammad ﷺ was going forward, they were taking steps back. Animosity started building. They started rejecting Muhammad ﷺ as a messenger outright. And then they started disagreements in order to make excuses so they don't accept. And then when Muhammad ﷺ saw that there was arrogance and that their hearts were completely sealed and their decision was made, that's when we see that there's this change of relationship that happens with Muhammad ﷺ and Ahlul Kitab. So much so that when we see, all of us have heard those hadith, don't be like the Jews and don't be like the Christians. They used to do it like this. They used to wear their clothes like this. Even the hadith mentioned that, the way that the Christians used to leave out, or the mustache, and some used to shave, and Muhammad ﷺ said, be medium. Don't be exactly like the Jews, don't be like the Christians. This is when that event started happening, where Muhammad ﷺ started encouraging the believers not to imitate and be like the Jews of what they do, even culturally at that time. Muhammad ﷺ said that the Jews always wear their shoes in their ibadat, so he told the believers, take off your shoes when you're praying. Especially on the outdoors. We're carpeted now, we don't bring in dirt, so we don't bring shoes into the masjid. But if you're outdoors, it's actually encouraged to pray with your shoes, as the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari is an evidence for. So he said that when you're praying, wear your shoes. Be different than the Jews. Because they were given all chances to come close. And there's many other historical things that happened. Wars that happened because of the breaking of treaties with the Muslims and the Jews. That being said, when Muhammad ﷺ made up his mind, there's one issue that was now a dilemma that was itching inside of the heart of Rasulullah ﷺ. When the Muslims were in Mecca, the Qibla was Jerusalem. The Qibla was Bayt al-Maqdis. When Muhammad ﷺ used to pray when he was in Mecca, remember the 5 daily prayers were not prescribed yet. When he was praying, he used to take the direction of the south side of the Kaaba and pray in the direction of Al-Quds, because it's in a straight line of north. You have Mecca, north you have Medina, north of you have Medina, then north of that completely you have Al-Quds. So it goes in a straight line in a northern direction. So Muhammad ﷺ wanted to pray in the direction of both of the Kaabas, both of the Qiblas, the Kaaba being the one that Ibrahim alayhi salam built. what ended up happening with the Jews, even throughout the Meccan phase and the beginning phase of Medina, is the Jews felt empowered that the Muslims are still dependent upon the Qibla and the direction of the Jews. They were still dependent. So the Jews felt like they had an upper hand. That hey, look, they're still dependent. Look, they're actually trying to imitate us as Jews. These Muslims, they still pray in our direction. We're the real ones. No, they were the real ones in the past. Yes, they were the chosen ones. Bani Israel was chosen in the past. But Muhammad ﷺ and his ummah were the new chosen ones. So, why am I mentioning all this? In the second year of Hijrah, in the month of Sha'ban, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam receives a change that's going to occur. And this change occurred in Sha'ban. What was this change? One time Jibreel alayhi salam came to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam with revelation. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said to Jibreel, I want to pray in the direction of the Kaaba, in Mecca. What should I do? Jibreel alayhi salam, you know what he says to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? He says, I'm a slave just like you. If you want it, ask Allah. If you want the direction, just ask Allah. So the dua that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam would make was so much so. In the nights, even though not many people saw him, during his Qiyamul Layl, and raising his hands and his face to the sky. Muhammad ﷺ only did this in a time of calamity, where it was complete submission, hands and face in the air, hours asking Allah. What was that dua? Oh, Allah changed the direction of the Qibla. Does Allah answer him? Are we praying in the direction of Jerusalem here? We're not. Look at the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, and it has so much love in it, but I want you to concentrate with me. Allah says, قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. We see that you have turned your face. It's referring to his dua, and asking Allah, to the skies, in the up direction. فَلَنُوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا. We're going to give you the qibla of what makes you happy. Allah could have said, we're changing the direction. What does this ayah tell us? It tells us, for the satisfaction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah changed the direction of the qibla. For what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was feeling in his heart, Allah changed the direction of the qibla. And this occurred in Sha'ban. In the middle of Sha'ban, some historians say Rajab, Wallahu a'lam, but since we're in Sha'ban, this is a beautiful month to talk about this. The direction that we're going to face right now happened in this very month. The next month was the Battle of Badr in Ramadan. And with us, we have Ramadan next month. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never ceases to amaze us, wallahi. So what happens next? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got the news in the morning of this day. In his masjid, for Salatul Dhuhr, they prayed in the direction of the new Qibla, which was once the back of the masjid in Medina, the masjid in Medina al-Munawwara, now became the front. In the back, which was once the back became the front of the masjid. It's a new Qibla. They had to turn. After the Sahaba prayed, they all went to their respective homes. One of the Sahaba was passing by Masjid al-Qiblatayn, which is not too far from the Masjid al-Nabawi. And when he went back, he saw the Muslims of Masjid al-Qiblatayn praying in the old direction towards Jerusalem. So he shouted out to them, the direction has changed. The direction has changed. So all of them changed direction in the middle of their salah. All of them. And then we had a new qibla. And we still have this qibla. And this qibla is going to be till Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now I want us to think about a few things before we conclude, inshallah. What does this change of Qibla actually mean on a political level, on a historical level, on a religious level? On a political level, anything from Allah obviously is, the word amazing is not enough to tell us, even to describe what is occurring. The direction changes politically. What does that mean? That means Fath al-Makkah is coming. Not now, but it's coming. The conquering of Mecca. What do you think happened to the Mushrikeen of Mecca when they found out that the direction changed completely towards them? That means all eyes are on them now. That means Rasulullah, the one that we ran out, the one that we could have been accepted and could have been powerful forever actually, to Allah, now it's coming for us. But it's going to come with mercy. They thought it was going to be something else. Muhammad knew it was mercy. Reviving historically the Abrahamic faith, that's the second point. The changing of the Qibla brought back the culture of Ibrahim alayhi salam. There's many prophets that actually used to pray in Mecca, in the direction of the Kaaba, just not the followers. A pilgrimage used to take place of the Anbiya, but not their followers. As Allah mentions in the Quran, the first house of Allah that was built is what? Mecca, meaning in Mecca, referring to the Kaaba. The seal of the prophethood of Muhammad ﷺ brings everything back into perspective, and it does the same thing for our lives. We're all heading in so many different directions. Sometimes we try to understand what multitasking actually is. But what sets and settles the dust for us is our facing towards Allah and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, this Ramadan, we're going to make a pact with ourselves that in this Sha'ban, if I haven't prepared yet, that preparation is going to take place from now. Every single one of us. Don't wait for the last week. Don't wait for 2 days before and start panicking. I tell this to people, and I've heard this from my own instructors and teachers. Ramadan is not meant to be feared. Ramadan is not meant to be feared. Look at yourself and think, am I afraid? Do I feel anxious when I think of Ramadan? How can the believer in Allah and the follower of Rasulullah of what gave humans true freedom by way of the Quran, and it was revealed in that month, how dare we fear that month? What idea do we have of Allah? Do we think Allah is out to get us? Or does Allah love us 70 plus more times than a mother can love her child? So let the Sha'ban, brothers and sisters, be very eventful, the same way that we face this Qibla now because of the dua of Rasulullah. Have the same faith in Allah that He's going to answer your du'as. Muhammad asked, we ask too. So we ask Allah for protection. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let us reach Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that every dua that we ask for in Ramadan, that Allah accepts. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who are with the Anbiya, with the prophets, and with the Salihin and the Siddiqeen. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make everything easy for our brothers and sisters in Turkey and Syria. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو التواب الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر المسلمين في تركيا. اللهم انصر المسلمين والمستضعفين في الأرض في سوريا. اللهم انصر المسلمين في القدس، اللهم انصر المسلمين في الهند وفي الباكستان وفي أفغانستان، اللهم انصرنا يا رب. اللهم تقبل صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا. Before we conclude, inshallah, Zakat Foundation is collecting donations for Turkey and Syria. The tables are outside. Don't think of it as a donation. Think of it as your children that are in need. And what would we do for our children and our daughters and our families if they were in similar circumstances? أقيم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا اعتدلوا يرحمكم الله. Please straighten out your lines. Fill in your gaps. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Amir. I always love how you bring it all full circle and tie everything together to us in our lives currently, right? Jazakallah khair. Stories and lessons with Sheikh Amir continues tomorrow, as it does every Saturday, inshallah, after Isha Salah, right? After Isha Salah. Isha is at 8 p.m. here, so please do come every Saturday to get more of that good stuff. Couple of quick announcements. As Sheikh Amir mentioned, Zakat Foundation is here, so we have another opportunity, just like we did in the previous weeks with Islamic Relief and Beit al-Mal, to help out our brothers and sisters overseas. Inshallah, we do also have COVID testing here in room 110, right outside. Lunch is available, and also please donate to ICW on your way out. If Khan Academy is taking online registration, it's open now. It's for the Early Childhood Care Center. So if you're interested, please go online. The emails went out this morning. The link is in there. The QR code is in there. It's also in the WhatsApp group chat. So please go ahead and get registered as soon as possible. Last but not least, if you notice, the past couple of weeks we've had a Wheaton police car outside. So alhamdulillah, we have security protocols in place as we're getting closer to Ramadan. So inshallah, every Friday we'll have security outside here at the masjid and also during Ramadan and Eid. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.